All right, welcome to the Wednesday, September 4th regular meeting of the Ann Arbor Planning Commission. For detailed information on meeting procedures, please review the full printed meeting agenda provided. Ms. Thatcher, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lee.
I am here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Hammerschmidt.
Here.
Commissioner Abrams.
Here.
Commissioner Dish.
Here.
Commissioner Mills.
Here.
Commissioner Weatherby. Here. Commissioner Adams.
Here.
Commissioner Norton.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? A motion by Commissioner Weiss, seconded by Commissioner Mills. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 20th, 2024 minutes? Moved by Commissioner Mills, seconded by Commissioner Weatherby. Any discussion of the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next up are reports of the Planning Commission and written communications. We will originally start with Councilmember Dish. Hello.
I am very pleased to announce, Chair Lee, that our fourth and final TC1 corridor passed last night resoundingly. I can remember the length of some of the meetings that we had on the first corridors, and this is like done, normal, which feels good. We also, Council also approved the suite of amendments that included the elevator overruns, et cetera, and we're really delighted to understand that we were responding to concerns about wasted habitable space. And there were other things in that one, but no details are really necessary. And then Council also approved the tweak that accommodated, I don't know, parking structure and made, it was the curb cut parking structure one that we passed that made a lot of sense. It was a good tweak, but I don't fully, I'm not able to fully state it perfectly, but anyway, it essentially, it made, as you all know, it made allowances for when we do TC1 in a place like Eisenhower that has very long blocks as opposed to, and we're trying to mimic downtown in a place that doesn't look like downtown. So that actually would have been a great way to put it last night, but I failed. I don't remember if there was anything else from planning last night, but those were the big. Oh, right. Yes, I did remember that. I remember that on my drive over. Yes, it will now be the case that 5 votes is what we need for an approval. That's our new approval threshold instead of 6. And so I think that obviously it's still a majority of our body, and it will make things easy for us during those periods when maybe we're an appointee short, or when people have family responsibilities or job responsibilities or appropriate recusals. So that's that. Yeah, actually, right. I should tell you this: that the resolution did pass to send home occupations back to us to explore further flexibility for home occupations. We did, as Chair Mills may remember, we did a very extensive revision of home occupations that was very thoughtful. But they would like us to look at it and think if there's anything more we can do to make it possible for people who have home occupations to further enlarge them without having to go out and be a brick and mortar business, or perhaps have more than one employee, but each employee would only be half-time, so there would actually be 2 people, but one full-time equivalent. So yeah, sorry, that was a little bit longer than I meant, but actually I think there was we cleared a lot of business. Planning did.
Thank you. Any other commissioners or liaisons with reports? Okay, written communications are included in. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Would you like the manager report?
Yes, manager
I am
report,
not the
please.
manager.
Oh, yes.
The manager invites you to join us at the Green Fair on September 20th. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. If you would like to engage with the public on the comprehensive plan, or just see what's going on there. The only other thing I have to present is that today, hot off the press, we received the City of Ann Arbor Old Fourth Ward Historic District Survey Report. We got a grant from the State Historic Preservation Office to do this, to survey 350 properties in the Old Fourth Ward. There's a report that goes with it about the history, et cetera, of the settlement. There are 3 volumes this size of survey forms, one for every property in the Old Fourth Ward, which is north of Huron Street. So if anyone's interested, those will be on the city website tomorrow on the preservation page. If you're interested in that sort of thing and want to flip through. And that's all I have.
Awesome, thank you. Commissioner Abrams.
Sorry, I'm realizing that ORC actually met last week, and I don't know, Commissioner Hammerschmidt, do you want to give the update?
I can, because I just pulled it up, and I was going to try. I completely forgot to because of the holiday. I'm all confused. ORC met last Tuesday, and we talked about a set of ordinance revisions that will be coming to us probably pretty soon. One was related to the definition of public utility. One is related to application fee reimbursements and reduction for the provision of affordable housing. So that's if a developer is providing affordable housing, it's a portion of that housing to the whole that the fee would be reimbursed for. Right now, it's just half of your entire fees, regardless of how much affordable housing you're going to provide. An ordinance revision related to fence regulations, and revisions related to zoning districts in which child care centers and private schools are allowed. So I believe all of those will be coming to us in the coming weeks.
Got it. Thank you very much. Do we have any other committee liaison reports? Okay, written communications are included in today's package. All right, we're going to move on to public comment. This is an opportunity for individuals to speak up to 3 minutes on issues not listed as a public hearing. We'll first hear from those present and then remote participants. To speak remotely, please press *9 if on the phone or use the raise hand feature in Zoom. For phone access, please call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 977-6634-1226. City staff will identify callers by the last 3 digits of the phone number or by name for Zoom users, and you'll hear an automated announcement when it's your turn to speak. And please move to a quiet area and mute any background noises so that we can hear you clearly. And for all participants, please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Is there anyone present who would like to speak at this time? I believe those are the petitioners. Seeing none, do we have any remote callers?
We do not.
Okay, give it 2 more seconds. With that, we'll close public comment. We're going to go on to public hearings scheduled for the next business meeting. And with that, we will turn to staff.
There are no public hearings scheduled for Tuesday, September 17th, and the planning manager intends to cancel that meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us actually to regular business, Section 9A. This is the 700 South State Street, SCU Special Exception Use for City Planning Commission approval. It is a proposal to increase the occupancy of a fraternity from 18 to 28 by internally dividing rooms. No new floor area is proposed. Zoned R2B, 2-family dwelling, and I believe we have the petitioner here to do the presentation with Bill Jarrett, architect, and Rick Armbruster, the owner's representative. With that, we'll start with petitioner presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bill Jarrett, the architect, Jarrett Architecture. That's Rick Armbruster. Rooster, that is. Yeah, so you know what we're here for. We're here to get the approval to go from 18 students to 28. And the way we're really accomplishing that, I'll show you on the floor plan, there's a lot of study rooms. The older fraternities had like gigantic study rooms, and the students really don't even use study rooms anymore. So there's all this space that becomes very easy to increase the amount of students internally. I don't know if it's time to get the PowerPoint going. Do I start that or?
Nope, CTN, there it goes. Put it up for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a site plan, yeah. I'll just go through the PowerPoint and it'll be part of the presentation. Site plan, the biggest challenge on this was really with the solid waste management revisions we had to make, because before we pretty much just had a dumpster sitting there, and just in allowing the truck to get through in the circulation. This is how we accomplished it with 2 separate dumpsters and one-way traffic coming in from the north and over to South State Street. And we're really only required with this, current zoning does not require any parking except for the one staff parking, which we have there now. And so this obviously makes it so no parking is going to be allowed, or it's not going to be space for additional parking on the site. So that was the biggest challenge. We managed to figure it out and get it all approved. And then we also added the 14 bike spaces. You can see on the site plan here, we have the 7 new bike spaces, which is the covered portion. And then we also provided 7 more internally, which will be in the basement. I'll show you that on the plan in a minute. So the site plan was a little bit of a challenge in that area, but not that much different than what it is today. And this is the main floor plan. You can kind of just see that those 7 parking spaces where we're tucking them in. There on the rear there, you can see the 8 dots there on the back side there. I don't really do I have a pointer on this? I don't know if I do. Okay. I guess I don't need one. You can kind of see what I'm talking about there, I hope. And then this is the basement plan that shows where we used a closet. Those angled things there at the top are bicycles. We used an internal closet to get the 7 interior parking requirement. And you come right down a stair from the outside. It's just a half a flight of stairs that goes right down into the basement, so it works out quite nicely. That closet really wasn't being used for anything currently. Just to show you a little bit internally, so this is the existing first floor plan. You can see all those large study rooms. So pretty big, then they're really not being utilized for much. And then this would be the revision of that, where we're taking those study rooms and adding the additional beds, plenty of room for them. And then also on the 3rd floor, same kind of thing. You can see the existing plan with the larger study spaces that aren't really being utilized. And then this is going to be the revision where we added all the beds and revised things somewhat to get all those beds to work properly and make nice bedrooms. This is just the data and stuff. We probably don't really need to talk about that much. I thought I'd throw in a few pictures of the interior. It's a very nice, a lot of woodwork, historic building. Still looks pretty good, even with all the parties that go on there. There might be a little bit of touch-up needed every year. But you can see there's a lot of nice woodwork, and we're really trying to maintain a historic look, good quality look. The exterior, I wanted to show you this picture. The slide on the left is the way it looked at the beginning of the summer, the front porch. It was getting a little deteriorated, and so and now it looks like the slide on the right, where we added a nice porch and patio, and really I think complements the building. New landscape. It really looks a lot better than it was. So there's a lot of improvements made. Now these pictures are the areas in the back. There's kind of a lot of junk shown there, but the one on the left is the door that goes down into the basement where the bicycle parking would be on the interior. And just to the left of that door on the exterior is where the exterior bicycle spots would be. And the slide on the right, I'm showing that one because the dumpster that I was showing that was kind of on the right-hand side will be up against that wall there you're seeing. And that wall is facing South State Street. So we really already have an existing wall that'll screen the dumpster somewhat, and then the new dumpster screen wall will obviously screen it even more. So you really won't see the dumpsters at all. And that's about it, my presentation. I just want to, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think we're going to go to now staff presentation, Planner Thatcher.
I don't really have a lot to add, just a couple of things. The trash recycling and bike parking that Mr. Jarrett mentioned, in the motion, there's a condition that they be installed by March 4, 2025. And Public Services, which is in charge of trash pickup, said that they may require a performance bond for that work, but they're not sure yet. More students in the house means more solid waste generated, and this will help with that condition. Let's see, and the bike parking is a welcomed addition. When it gets to the building permit stage for the Class B bike covering, that's when we'll look at the design. It wasn't submitted with this since it was a special exception use, but It'll be something simple and compatible, and I will make sure of that.
Yeah.
And staff does recommend that the special exception use be approved with conditions. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, so we're going to move on to public hearing now. This is an opportunity for individuals to speak up to 3 minutes on this item, and we'll first hear from those present and then remote participants. To speak remotely, please press star 9 up on the phone or use the raise hand feature in Zoom. For phone access, please call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 977-6634-1226. City staff will identify callers by the last 3 digits of the phone number or by name on Zoom users. You will hear an automated announcement when it's your turn to speak, and please ensure that you're in a quiet area and mute any background noise. For all participants, please state your name and address at the beginning of the comments. And is there anyone present that would like to speak at this time? All right, seeing none, as we have the petitioners in the room, and no other participants. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission remotely?
There is not.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give that 2 more seconds. Okay, give me 1 quick second. With that, we are going to move on to the motion. I'm going to read the motion. Give me 1 quick second. I have to pull this up, as it's not on this right now. All right, so here's the proposed motion. It is that the Ann Arbor City Planning Commission, after hearing all interested persons and reviewing all relevant information, including an accompanying site plan, finds the petition substantially meeting the standards in Chapter 55 of the Unified Development Code, Section 5.29.5.d, Special Exception Use, and Section 5.161. .1.e, fraternity, sorority, and student cooperative, and therefore approves the 700 South State special exception use for fraternity, sorority, cooperative housing at 700 South State Street. This approval being based on the following findings. Proposed use will be consistent with the R2B district, which will allow single and 2-family residential uses, and then fraternities by special exception. Proposed use to not adversely impact traffic, pedestrians, bicyclists, circulation, or road intersections based on the location. South State Street and Monroe provide access to the site, and proposed use is consistent with the existing and surrounding uses' traffic impact. Subject site meets the specific standard of at least 8,500 square feet of lot area and 300 square feet of lot area per occupant. And a site plan documenting the existing and proposed conditions of the site has been submitted as a part of the application. Being approved on the following condition: occupancy is limited to 28 people. A resident manager will live in the building, and trash recycling, bicycle parking improvements showing on the site plan will be installed by March 4th, 2025, and the Public Services Division may require a completion bond. And that the Ann Arbor Planning Commission hereby approves the attached site plan dated August 21st, 2024, which demonstrates the compliance with the applicable special exception use standards, as no development which would have otherwise required site plan approval has been proposed. And so with that, we're going to move into discussion, moved by Commissioner Weich, seconded by Commissioner Mills. We are now in discussion. Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, and I want to thank staff for the table at the back with all the criteria and the assessment. I thought that was really easy to follow for this one. And I appreciate the links to like where a lot of those things are coming from, because there's a lot of additional considerations for this special use. So thank you for that. The staff report effectively says it complies, right? Like the number of occupants complies with the standard. And then it also references the housing code. And I don't know if that's different than the building code, but I know the building code also has occupancy limits. So I'm curious the staff report says it complies with that, but I'm curious like what the housing code or building code would allow. Like what's the max that would be allowed here?
So I asked your question to a couple of different people.
Okay.
And when a design professional submits plans for a rental property, like a fraternity, they ask for a certain number of occupants, in this case, 28. Then whichever department is reviewing it will look at the plans that are submitted and compare it to the number 28. they never say like, you could fit 35 in here, but you're only asking for 28 because they're asking for 28. So they said that there could be cases where 6 months later, they might want to split some more rooms and, you know, put some more people in the building, in which case they would just look at the new design professional drawings and determine, based on the new drawings, whether they had enough, you know, space and bathrooms and egress and kitchens and things like that to support the new number of people being requested. So I was kind of hoping they'd just say, yeah, there's a number.
Here's the multiplier.
Yeah, but there's not.
Okay. Because from my perspective, I would rather provide wiggle room to allow for this. And the element within our code that seems to limit it is the one that is, just a minute, I have it up, based on 350 square feet of lot area per occupant.
Yeah, that's our zoning limitation.
That's the
Yes.
zoning limitation, exactly.
Yes.
So maybe this is the like follow-on question. Based on that, and at least what I can find from the tax records, the site is 0.4 acres. Does that seem right?
I think that
And
seems
Google
right.
tells me that that's 17,000 square feet-ish. And so the max by zoning would be 49 occupants. I'm curious what the implication is if we allow a special land use. Again, not the site plan, because the site plan is only for their 28, but allow the special land use to go up to 49 if they want to change interior again. Presumably that goes through some, like, I'm just curious what the implication would be to allow them that flexibility in the future so they can do whatever they need to with building, but they don't necessarily have to come back to planning.
Yes, that can be done and has been done in the past.
Okay, so there's not like we're not going to cause a health and safety conundrum.
No.
If we
because
amend it to be
building
the
and
max.
Fire and rental are still going to look at it and say, you know, yes or no, you don't meet the requirements, the code requirements, the building code requirements for the number, you know, that you're asking for, or you do meet that.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens a lot in schools and daycares. Like, they'll say, okay, we're going to have 300 kids in this school. And we say, okay, what about 350? Do you think you'll ever hit 350? You might someday? Okay, then ask for 350, you know?
Even though what you're showing is the 300 on your site plan, and so
Yes.
they're going to evaluate it for that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that I'm inclined to increase the number of occupants to 49, which is, because my math effectively shows 49.7 people, and you can't have 0.7 people. So it's 48 or something, like, I think we should increase this, so.
Commissioner Abrams.
This is a maybe value neutral observation, but I'm wondering about the fact that this was noticed as a public hearing for 28 people, and if it had said 49 people, whether that would have yielded a different quantity of public attention. So I don't know, or I'm wondering, like, in the school and daycare examples, or I think we've had this happen to us too, it's like before it reaches this point is when that happens. It's when people come in for a pre-PUD or something like that. I don't know. I'm just observing that, noticing that.
Sure. I think that's a good observation. I'd like to ask the petitioner, from the architect's point of view, if you guys considered increasing it. What we're looking to do is to say, hey, we want to create a mechanism by which you may not have to come back to ask for another procedural.
Well, I'm wondering about some of the departments that reviewed this for 28, if that could be an issue.
If you
like
could come up,
solid waste.
if you could come and talk into the mic, otherwise it won't
Okay,
pick it
sorry.
up. Yeah, no, you're fine.
I'm wondering about some of the other disciplines and so forth that reviewed this for the SEU, like especially solid waste, I'm thinking about, because it was a challenge to be able to get that in there for 28, and then if we had another 20, are they going to allow, require larger dumpsters? And
Sure.
I mean, it just seems like we probably would have wanted to review that from the beginning,
Yeah.
because of the other departments may not necessarily agree with that. I don't know if you would.
Yeah, this
go along with
wouldn't
it.
necessarily mean you could immediately have 48 occupants. You would still need to get a certificate of occupancy for any number over 28. And that would require floor plans and design plans. And let's say you found room for 2 or 4 more students, then you wouldn't have to come back to us to change the special exception use
Yeah.
again, because you'd max out
I'm
at
sure the
48.
owner wouldn't mind that.
Commissioner Abrams' point is a good one, though, and I don't
A
know
few
the
years
answer to
from
that
now, they might
question.
want to double it again, who knows?
Yeah. No, we're only looking to try to make it so that you have some flexibility and that you don't have to go through a special exception
Yeah.
use just to increase the occupants. The building code and building permits will still govern.
So if we're approved at that point, yeah. I mean, when we actually submit this for a building permit, I suppose we could even increase it a little bit on the plans for that when we say what occupancy we want. If we wanted to throw a couple more beds in there just to make sure we have space for it or whatever.
Right. That being said, I do believe Commissioner Abrams' point is also a valid one about public noticing, because it is noticed as 28. So I don't know if that's something we could get
We wouldn't be
clarification.
opposed to that, right? No, okay.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure.
I would look to staff for some guidance on that, but to me, the public notice is actually a fairly important one, which would mean that this would actually be delayed if we were to.
Especially as a special exception use, since the whole point is to notify the neighborhood of, so they have some reasonable expectations. Like
Right.
even the sign that we posted out front said increase to 28 occupants.
Sure. Commissioner Norton, not Professor.
Well, that begs the question, would you rather proceed now with 28, or do you want to table this and go back and think about how many more you might conceivably add in the future?
28's fine, because I'm just worried it's causing complications that if we increase it, that we may not be
Honestly,
aware of.
as I look at your
But I think
plans,
it's fire review and just all those
Yeah.
different things, come into play.
as I look at the plans too, I don't see how you'd fit in another 40 or another
You
20.
could go with bunk beds. All those beds you see in places.
Just double them, but double them. Could I ask, I'm just curious, where is the resident manager in all of these rooms? Where does that person stay?
There isn't a resident manager.
Oh,
They
I
don't
thought that
have
was one of
anybody
the,
that lives, I shouldn't say that. There is a resident manager. He's a local resident in Ann Arbor, and he visits the site.
Sorry, Rick, can you come up to the podium?
So they have an alumni that lives in the Ann Arbor area, and he makes periodic visits with the alumni, or with the actives, with their president, their vice president, and the treasurer, and all those, to make sure that everything is going as planned. So, but he does not live on site.
okay, one of the conditions is that a resident manager live in the building.
Manager.
Yeah, please, Planet Thatcher.
Yeah, is there a student who is like the appointed house manager
Yeah,
who lives in the house?
yeah, there is a house manager,
Okay.
and
If-
he's
who
normally the
communicates
person eye
with-
contact.
With you and others when things are needed and,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
responsible for everything overall.
yeah, I think that that's acceptable because I've heard of that in the past. As long as there's someone in the house who's designated as the house manager or the resident manager.
Got it. Commissioner Adams.
Right, but in the code, it says, and this is in, oh boy, where are we? 516.1, under fraternities, sororities, student cooperative housing, R2B, multiple family zoning districts, the resident manager shall be employed or appointed. For purposes of this section, a resident manager is one who lives on site serving in a regular or full-time capacity. Is this person serving in a full-time capacity as a student?
Correct. It's an appointed position, and, he's responsible for all the activities that go
Right.
on in a
But you
frat.
sort of understand the question, right? That's not a full-time capacity. He's a full-time student.
Right. I mean, that's his job, and but he's also a student.
Got it.
Ms. Thatcher, just a quick question. So if we pass this with that specific condition, what does compliance look like and review of that compliance?
Well, when the building permit applications come through, we will look to make sure that there is a place for the resident manager to live
Okay,
on site.
got it.
I presume that that was the big room that had the bigger bed and the study room next to it.
There is a room that has a shower in it.
Exactly.
Or bathroom
Yeah.
that's kind of designated
Yeah.
as what would be the resident manager location if we brought, alumni in or somebody that.
Quite honestly, no one is going to knock on the door and say, may I speak to the resident manager?
Yeah.
Right.
Understood. All right, thank you, sir. All right, any other commissioners' comments? Commissioner Weatherby?
So this is on a different topic.
Okay, yeah.
So I think this might have been answered by the change of traffic, but right now, if you go by that location, the curb cut on Monroe is basically half the size of what is being used as the curb. So it looks like cars are just coming over the curb because there's parking on one side, and then cars are just driving over the curb because it's not wide enough. So that is, and it looks like on the proposed plan that exists, that the driveway is sort of twice as wide as the curb cut. And I'm just wondering if, I don't know if this is for staff or the petitioner, or, but that seems somewhat problematic. That the curb cut is not
Yes.
big enough or is being used inappropriately.
Yeah. So it was reviewed by engineering, who gave the existing curb cut the thumbs up, mostly with, trucks in mind to go in and out of there. I mean, if there were parking, where that no parking sign is indicated on the plan set,
Right.
That could be something that could be enforced. It's pretty hard to enforce students jumping curbs and making a muddy mess.
Right. I'm sort of more concerned about the, pedestrians and traffic along there. If people are zipping in and out, what is supposed to be a one-way, but they're going out
Yeah.
the other direction. Now with it, the traffic flow being different and supposedly no parking on that one side, but that's just, I don't really know what to do about it, but I just noticed that it is
Yeah.
currently,
The one parking space is shown there because all driveways must lead to a legal parking space,
Yes.
okay.
or it might not have any. That one was just sort of squeezed in there around the path of the trucks in order to make it allowable to have a driveway there.
I mean, it will be nice to have the dumpster not just a big pile of junk in the corner, so I guess that's, but, yeah. If there's no, I mean, I don't know if there's no real, but we could report it if they're,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
I just walk by there a lot, so.
Yeah, especially if you see cars going the wrong way out of the
Right, because that would be a
one-way.
double,
Yeah,
not only would they be going over the curb, but they'd be going the wrong way over the curb.
yeah.
Got it. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Hammerschmidt?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for bringing us 10 more beds to put students in a city that has a housing crisis. I just have a quick question about the basement bicycle parking. It says it's down just a short flight of steps. Are you planning any sort of like bicycle guide ramp thing to make it really easy for people to actually get their bike up and down so that we make sure they use those spaces? And if not, will you?
Well, I don't know if the stair would really be wide enough to do that, and it is a half a flight of stairs, so it seems like it's pretty easy to, when you're carrying your bike, to go down a few steps.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe not. The more barriers you put on something, the less likely it is for people to actually.
Have you seen that, where there's like a ramp you can attach to the
Yeah.
stairs or something?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well,
Yeah, they're just like little metal ramps, and so like the bike goes down that, the wheels go down that, and then you walk down the stairs with it.
That would have to be in quite a ways on the
True.
stair, wouldn't it, so that handlebar's clear?
I don't, it depends on how I don't know how the stairs are, like where it hits the building, but yes.
Yeah. So you might only end up with like, those stairs aren't very wide there. Let's take a look here. See, those stairs are really only about, what are they, about 3 feet, something. So if you had a rail down the, one side of that, the stair becomes kind of unfunctional for emergency
For people?
use and people use. So I don't think that would work. And we were kind of thinking, since it's a half flight of stairs, it wouldn't, I understand what you're saying if you're going up like a pretty tall flight of stairs, but, it's kind of similar when you're outside somewhere and you might hit some steps on a sidewalk. You might have to get off your bike and walk up.
Yeah.
Carrying your bike. It's not.
Well, if there's space, just look into it, I guess, is all I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it would fit in this case, but thank you.
Sure. And not to harp too much on this like resident manager thing that is still confusing me, but a friend of mine in college was like a grad student and he was in a fraternity and like he lived there as the resident manager. So like I think that is pretty common to have students like act in that capacity. So while this is kind of confusing, because it sounds like they have a resident manager and a house manager, and this is the language in our code, like I think it's probably fine.
Thank you. Commissioner Mills?
Now that I'm looking closer at this floor plan, am I reading this right, that the entrance where you're saying is the half-light, is this going into the mechanical room?
No, well, yeah, it's kind of hard to see on that drawing there. It goes onto a landing. If I could point, if you look at this drawing, right in the center, kind of in the center, you see where the door goes onto the landing of a
Yep,
stair that goes 2 different directions.
yep.
Well, one direction would be up, and then, one direction would be down, and then the other to the right goes to the main area, main floor.
Okay.
And then, so where it goes down, it comes down there right across from the bike area. So you're going onto a landing and then down.
And
So it's not a full flight of stairs,
so it's 2 half-lights,
roughly.
roughly, and but the stairway that we're actually talking about is interior to the building.
Yes,
It's not exterior.
right, you enter onto the landing first. So you'd have to carry your bike into that landing area there first, and then down the stairs. And then,
Yeah. So this is one where it seems that, it's providing space, but I just don't think it will be used.
It's not ideal.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, yeah. Okay, thank you for helping me understand that.
Got it. Commissioner Adams?
So I'm sort of reasonably satisfied that this resident manager serves in a regular capacity, but I did have one other question. The definition of fraternity in the code requires an affiliation with the university. I just want to make sure that this fraternity's affiliation with the IFC or some other accredited association within the university fraternity structure is still good and intact.
Yeah, they're part of, I'm not sure the name of the Greek association, but they're a member of that, and they have one of the highest GPAs of all the fraternities that are associated with it.
Got it. Thanks.
Got it. Great. Councilmember Dish? Yeah.
Councilmember Hammerschmidt, I'm very glad you brought up the bike thing. Did I councilmember you? Oh, it's a dream, it's a fantasy, an ideal. Yeah, and how steep is that staircase? Well, but 3 steps that are like this way or 3 steps that are gentle? Because you know how it is to carry a bike down a steep ass. Okay, so do we need to ask for more bike parking that is covered, that is outside? Given that these folks are not going to be able to have cars, there is no place for them to park them. It's a question.
Sure.
Besides that, I did want to note that, yes, thank you very much for bringing us more beds in proximity to campus, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan and compatible with the neighborhood. And moreover, the use of this building as a fraternity is consistent with the neighborhood, making sure that the addition of 10 people at those parties doesn't mean lots of cups on the front lawn, because being right across from the law school and where all those student tours walk by every day, that's not the face that we want to present. So that resident manager needs to make sure that we're not getting any trash complaints. And of course, this proposal will not affect any natural features because you're just working on the inside. So I'm appreciating all the things that you are bringing. I really would like to make the bike parking more practical. I am not someone who can carry a bicycle up the stairs, and I'm actually pretty fit for my age. So it would be nice to provide something that's usable for the students. Although if you have data that you want to tell me that your current bike parking is not even full and that the students aren't using the space that's provided them, that could mitigate the concerns that are, I think, the reasonable concerns that are being raised at the table, yeah.
Sure. I'm wondering if the petitioner wants to respond. I think to summarize, there's a little bit of concern that the 7 bike parking spaces in the basement area would not be utilized and is really being put forth as somewhat placating. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but that it seems to be more for show than actual utilization.
I've worked as the fraternity's owner's representative for the last 12 years. So I've seen a lot of kids come and go. And I've never seen more than 2 bicycles on site over those last 12 years. There's a bus stop right there that's very handy. Less than half of the kids have vehicles on site, so they either walk or they take a bus, and I don't know, they don't use bikes. I don't know why, but, so that's what I've seen.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner.
So
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
this is for staff, Planner Hatcher. Since the project requires 14, and it is our determination that the 7 that are interior aren't going to be utilized, can we make that determination based on this site plan that these 7 are not going to be utilized, but if they dedicate it, it meets the criteria, I guess, is what I'm asking. So if they draw it in and say, this is where these 7 will go, but no one can access it and no one uses it, does it still meet the requirement? Maybe that's my question.
I think that's a value judgment to say that no one will use it.
Great.
Because it is there and available.
So, okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Norton.
I guess I want to speak to the other side. I'm pretty sure if it's an enclosed space and people have bikes, and these are college students, and if you can find a way to put a little metal ramp that doesn't take up much space but helps get it down the stairs, I think it would probably be used. Maybe not by 7 cyclists, but I know if I had a bike and I wanted it out of the weather, I'd lug it down a set of stairs to do that. So I'm not convinced that because it's a little bit inconvenient, it's not going to be used in a fraternity house. I think it's reasonable. It's a reasonable use of that space.
Got it. Thank you. Yes. Also, looking at the trends, it looks like a lot of them ride mopeds, I'll be perfectly honest. But all of that said, any other commissioners with thoughts on this particular special exception use?
I would urge you to look, I think you can find a rail that would make it a lot easier to get a bike up and
Without
down. That
blocking the
won't-
stairs?
That won't take much of the stair space.
I'll look into that,
Yeah,
for
I think
sure.
that's that would add to it quite a bit.
Another compromise I thought of, we might be able to squeeze 2 more spaces on the exterior one, so we would have less on the inside, maybe, if you wanted to look at that.
I would say
That-
Because right now we have
Yes.
7, so we could get 9. I mean, it's better to have an even number. I probably would say 8, maybe. For lucky, maybe we could get 10, which would
Okay.
be 5 racks, right? approximately or something.
Yeah.
Covered.
Got it. I think the intent,
Would you accept going with 10 outside and just eliminate the interior maybe, or?
I think it's required at 14, yeah. I think our intent is to promote non-motorized transit to the extent that it's being utilized, and so, and frankly, I think changes at this juncture would mean that there would be most likely, so I think that it's probably best that we just move forward
Yeah,
with.
maybe figure out how to
yeah.
get 14 in the best way that's going to be used.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's the way
That's
we're
our,
trying to get to.
yep, 100%. With that said, Commissioner
Sorry,
Hammerschmidt
I'm
with
sorry.
a
I just-
closing, yes.
The ramp thing, or the railing thing, they're like this wide. They're really not very wide, and they just go right along the edge of the stairs, so it's not going to take up.
Can't be on the edge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just
It must be
Google,
angled or something so you could.
you kind of angle, it looks like you kind of angle the bike a little bit when you're going, so the handlebars don't hit the
Yeah,
wall.
That kind of makes sense.
Just
Okay.
Google like stairs with bike railing or track or something, you'll see. It's pretty common now. I've seen them in a lot of places. Thank you.
Got it. I think for me, the overriding thing is that we're adding additional beds to an area that we have an imbalance of housing to current occupants. So that being said, I think with that, we'll close discussion and we will move to a roll call vote. Ms. Thatcher?
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Abrams,
Yes.
Councilmember Dish,
Yes.
Commissioner Mills,
Yes.
Commissioner Weatherby,
Yes.
Commissioner Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Great. Thank you and good luck with the renovations. With that, we're going to move on to other business, 10A, there are none, which moves us to public comment. This is a second opportunity for individuals to speak up to 3 minutes on any issue. We'll first hear from those present, then remote participants, and to speak remotely, please press star 9 if you're on the phone, or use the raised hand feature in Zoom. For phone access, please call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 977-6634-1226. City staff will identify callers by the last 3 digits of the phone number or by name by Zoom. You'll hear an automated announcement when it's your turn to speak, and please ensure that you're in a quiet area and mute any background noise. For all participants, please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Is there anyone present who would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, do we have any remote callers?
We do not.
Great. We're going to move on to commission proposed business. Are there any? Yes, Commissioner Mills.
I would like to propose that on our long list of things that we address when we have time, we add thinking through elimination of 5.16.1.E, number 1, letter E, which is in the UDC, the stipulation that says for the special exception use for a fraternity, it stipulates the maximum number of occupants shall be established by the special exception use, and any increase in occupancy shall require a new special exception use permit. I feel like this may not have had to come to us if we didn't have that part in the provision, and there's other things that regulate density, including in zoning, that they would still have to comply with, and in the building code. So, again, that's not a proposed change, but I feel like that might be one that we should think through if there are unintended consequences of that. Thank you.
Going through exactly that exercise around the office, so thank you.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other commission proposed business? All right, seeing none, I am going to move to the last item on this, which is adjournment. Moved by Commissioner Mills, seconded by Commissioner Weich. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.